Pushing Hustle podcast. This is your host Ash. When I saw her name pop up as the last person to finish the Hardrock 100, my initial thought was, holy shit, that's incredible. Then I read more about her, and I knew right away I had to reach out. She's 61, a mother of five, and there is absolutely no slowing down. Most people talk about doing hard things. She just does them quietly, consistently, and with a kind of grit that doesn't need attention or applause. Finishing hard rock is tough for anyone. 100 miles in the San Juan Mountains, over 10,000 meters of elevation. But to be out there for nearly 48 hours, through the night, through the pain, and still find the strength to kiss that rock at the end. That's not just endurance, that's hard. She's a living proof that it's never too late, that strength isn't about age, and that inspiration can come from the most unexpected places. This is a story about patience, persistence, and a fire that refuses to die. And in that note, please let me introduce to our guest today. Here is Anne. Hey, Anne, welcome to the podcast. It's an absolute honor to have you here, and I'm looking forward to talk about your journey.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Before we start, I'm sure you're pretty well known, right? Because you've been doing all these incredible races for so long. But for the viewers, can you please give a quick introduction about who is Anne?
Okay, well, I am Anne and I'm born in Belgium and I lived there most of my life. And it wasn't until 20 years ago that we moved to California in the US. And that's where I slowly started running. Started from zero and was like a podcast, a Belgian podcast, couch potato to 5K. And that's where it all started. I never knew I was going to run long distances. 5K back then was already a whole lot. And I have a family. I have 5 children who are now adults and have their own children. And I'm married also. And yeah, we live in California right now. Beautiful coastal Santa Monica Mountains. That's it.
Yeah, I know California. I'm from California too. I used to live in California. I lived in California for 5 years. I was in Monterey, near or in
Excellent.
between Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Yeah, Monterey is close to Big Sur, right? Yeah, Beau-
Yes, yep,
beautiful
yep.
area.
Yes, it was nice. Just right across the ocean, but very cold. The water was cold.
Yes, the water of the Atlantic is very cold.
Yeah. Before we start and go into your journey, you said, like many of us who get into running, the initial thing is always the couch to 5K. And like you said, you just started from that thing too. And where did it escalate it for you? Because at what point you were like, I'm not satisfied with 5K, and then I'm sorry, it went to 10K, half marathon, marathon. And when did the journey on ultra running started?
It came just very slowly. I never had a plan. The 5K, I eventually did a 5K race, and the year later, did a 10K race. And I just really enjoyed it at that point. And then I learned there were like marathons, so then I started signing up. I signed up for a marathon, but then in my training, I ended up also doing a half marathon before. So it was very gradually and never really had plans to run longer. It was just having friends at that point who also ran the races I ran, and then I saw they did longer. Like after a marathon, you got the 50K, and then eventually I did a 50K, and then I saw they did 50-mile races, and then yeah, eventually I did that. And then at that point, I always said, I'm never doing 100-mile because that's way too long. I really want to have my sleep at night. I don't want to run during the night. But then at some point, I did decide to sign up for 100 mile. I can't remember what made me decide that, but it was very gradually. I never had a plan. Yeah, that's how it went.
How was it for you? Running a marathon is one thing, and like you said, you had this progression where you gradually came and increased your distances going on. And was that feeling the same for you when you finished that line? And I'm sure 100 mile is much more tiring than when you finish a marathon, but the joy, the love, and the excitement, was it same when you finished your first 100 miler?
It was definitely very hard, yes. But when I finished my first marathon, I was that was very hard also. And I remember I was very sore after that. I really had problems uh, getting on and off the stairs. So that was really hard too. So I don't know if running 100 miler, finishing that, gave me a different feeling. I feel like it was the same. My first 100 miler, even though it was hard, I was probably way more tired. But by then, I had more running already on my body. So I think it was more used to the running and the exhaustion and the soreness. But definitely, yeah, your first 100 mile is a big accomplishment. But that was also my first marathon, was a very big accomplishment. And honestly, my first ever race, which was a 5K, was a very big accomplishment and too. So I think it's just, it was the same though. Yeah.
When was your first marathon and when was your first 100 miler? Did you do any distance in between those, like 100K, 80K, stuff like that, or did you just jump from marathon to 100 miler?
I can't remember the exact date, but it was all step by step. So there were so the marathon, and then I ended up doing a couple more marathons, and then at some point I had friends. I had a little circle of friends that I had learned to know through the marathons I ran. They ran also 50K, so then I did that. So it was really gradually. So I did do multiple marathons, then a 50K, then worked up to a 50 mile, then 100K, and then, yeah, 100 mile. So I never made the big jump. I really did that gradually. And I did that, I didn't really have a plan ahead of time. It just happened to happen like that.
You have been running for decades, right? What made you applied for Hardrock and then you got in, but then you decided you want to run it after so long, right? You've been trying to get in. And why was that race so important for you that you came back to it year after year?
It's one of these iconic races you hear about, and I heard about it the first time uh, from a friend who lived here, who was older than me, who ran it multiple times back in the day when it was easier to get into. So I heard these stories, and I live here in California, and Hardrock, together with Western States, is those are the two like iconic races that people want to do. I think it's just also because it's hard to get into. So it's already a big accomplishment once you get in. And yes, it takes several years. So for me, it was about a decade to get in, 10 years. So once you run a qualifier, people are like, oh, that's a hard rock qualifier. And yeah, so you want to do it, and then it gets in your head. And I like Colorado. I like being in the mountains. I like being at high altitude. And I had seen pictures, and yeah, it's definitely very beautiful and just a challenge. Yeah, just because it's so hard, you want to challenge yourself. Can I do that? Could I be possibly one of those people that finish it?
Yes, like you said, Colorado is beautiful and hilly, and Hard Rock is one of the hardest races to get in. You got in a decade, and some people probably have not been to say that, okay, I got in. And do you remember that feeling? You have been applying for a decade, right? So you've been applying for again and again. And when you saw that mail that said you got in, how did you feel at that moment?
It was unbelief. So I was somewhere else. I was actually, because it's like a big day here when we have the lottery day
Yeah.
there, because lottery for Western states and Hard Rock happened at the same time, the same morning. So everybody's like on their screens watching, or some people have little parties. They all get together and then hope one of them gets in one of the races so they can celebrate. It's a big morning here in the US. And I wasn't home. I was, one of my daughters had a powerlifting meet somewhere in Santa Cruz area, so close to where you used to live. And we hardly had any reception there. I was maybe one bar. I could hardly have, I couldn't pull up the internet on my phone. And I was taking care of her two toddlers also while she was competing in her meet. So I was not really busy with that. And then at some point, I just got a text message. And I got a couple text messages from friends. And I think the first one was like, rumor has it you got into Hardrock. And then when I read that, I was like, oh, I couldn't believe it. And then I got another text message about, congratulations, you got into Hardrock. Oh my God, it must be true. But I couldn't look it up because I couldn't pull up the internet. And yeah, I was in disbelief. Yeah, actually, the first 2 weeks I was in disbelief. Once I got home, I definitely checked the internet, and then I saw my name, and I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I never thought I was ever going to get in Hard Rock. Actually, I was waiting, I was hoping to get in Western States because I've been applying for a very long time for that one also. And for some reason, I felt like I was going to get into Western States, but that didn't happen. So I didn't really think about Hard Rock because there's only 146 runners they allow, and there's thousands of people applying. And when you've never done it, it's really, your chances are so slim. So I never thought I was going to get in. But yeah, it did happen. So
Yeah,
yeah, the feeling
lotteries
of,
are hard.
yeah, I was just in disbelief. It took me a while. And I didn't tell anyone. I told my daughter that day, oh my God, I get these text messages. But then I don't think the first 2 weeks I told anyone else, unless the people that knew it from following the lottery. Yeah.
Can imagine because lotteries are hard. Like here in the Berlin Marathon, to millions apply, and then there is only like 80,000 that get in, and it's hard. Sometimes people have been trying it for years, and I can understand that feeling. And so you got the lottery, right? And then you are so pumped up, and you are towing that line. Then how was that feeling? Because, like you said, it's one of the iconic races in the United States, and going there, towing up against all these athletes. How was that feeling for you?
So being at the start line, I was very happy. The moment was finally there. I didn't really have nervous feelings. I was just very happy. Okay, finally. Because also once you get in, and then from New Year's on, I really trained hard, or and anyways, I did my best. I did anything I could do that thought was beneficial to train well for Hard Rock. So all your days are you're working and you do other stuff, but anything else you're training is all it's for Hard Rock. And then I went 2 weeks early to Colorado. And yeah, so it's for months that you live towards that moment. And then actually from the day before the race, I was like, okay, let it start now. I'm ready for it. And then being at the start line also, it's like, finally. Yeah, so I was pumped up, but not really. It was really the feeling like, fine, here we are. Let's get started.
Was that hype all worth it when you towed the line and finished it? All the people, like for a decade, you've been dreaming of this dream to finish that crossing line, and when you finally finish it, was it how you thought it would be?
Yes, I knew it was going to be hard, which it was. And yeah, it was worth it. Then they always talk about the Hard Rock family. So I was curious about that. What is that, the Hard Rock family? Because once you do Hard Rock, they say you're part of the family. It was like, what is that? And it is really true. And it's already, once you're in the lottery, so when you put your name, so you're on the entry list, so you start getting regularly these emails from Dale Garland, who's the race director, and they're very friendly and informative, and you already feel supported, right? From so that's still 6 months, like a half year before the race. And yeah, and then also going early, and then they organize these orientation hikes you can do in a group with people that have done it multiple times. So you start becoming part of a group of friends. And yeah, so it really becomes a little bit your family, like your Hard Rock family. And yeah, it was definitely what they always talk about, the Hard Rock family. And yeah, it was definitely worth it. And yeah, I'm so happy I got the chance to do it, and I'm super happy I got to finish. I almost didn't finish because I don't know the story. Halfway, I wanted to drop out because my knee was hurting so bad. But I'm really happy my friends pushed me through, and I got that finish.
Yes, it is a very hard thing to do, and that is a hard race to finish as well. And but you did it. You have a name in the history book. You are there forever. What is driving you to keep pushing into these brutal ultras?
I don't know. I just like to be active. I like to move my body. I like to be outside. In my head, I don't feel 60 plus yet. And so I always forget about it until people tell me or there's more attention to it. But up until a couple of years ago, I always thought I was still 18, which is, of course, not true. So I don't know. I just like pushing myself. I like to be outdoors. The kids are out of the house. Now I have that freedom to see what I can still do. And now that I've finished these things, now you're like, okay, how much longer can I keep doing this? So I don't feel like, okay, I've done it. Now I'm done. Maybe I can do this again in a couple of years. So yeah, I still want to see what I can do, and I'm doing my best to stay healthy and fit and strong, and we'll see what happens.
Before we move on to next questions, in that note, what is next for you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep signing up. The lottery, like for Hard Rock, is gonna happen again, beginning December, and definitely put my name back in. But right now is actually next weekend. There's a race in Mammoth Mountain. It's like a whole weekend. There's 4 different races, 3 days, and it's a race that's now the 4th year. And I've been doing that since the first year, so that's on my agenda for next weekend. It's a 50K. A Mammoth Mountain is like a ski area here in the Eastern Sierras. And then the day before, also do the Dragonbacks climb, which is like basically a vertical K, they call it in Europe. I believe it's 2.7 miles just straight up to the highest point in Mammoth Mountain or on Mammoth Mountain. That's it. And then you go back down with the gondola. So that's a hike. That will be a hike up the mountain. That's next, yeah.
Now going back to the hard rock because it is still fresh in your memories. Like you mentioned just earlier on, you said at the half point you wanted to quit because your knees gave up, and I cannot imagine, right? So when you have been, and it's not an easy race to do because there is a lot of words and it's tough to do that race. And what went through your head, like when you are so close to the finish, let's say at mile one at the end, and you've been running through so much pain, how did you felt when you were so close to the finish line, and when you and there was that moment when you finish it?
When I was getting close to the finish line, I didn't feel anything. I was just pushing really hard because I had no idea how much time I had left. I knew I was very close because I knew I was getting light again. And I knew we were close. And my friend who was pacing me at that time never answered my question when I said, how much time do we have left? How close? And she said, Anne, don't worry about that. Just keep going. And, which I did. I just had to keep pushing. So I actually didn't feel anything. Yeah. Once I really started running the last mile, gave it my all. I didn't even hear the crowds. I saw it in the YouTube later that people were cheering, that there were so many people. I didn't even see those. I hardly saw the finish line. I wanted to go to the wrong direction. I was just so focused on like pushing hard. And then I finished. I reached the rock, and then I still didn't know if I actually made it within the time, within the cutoff time. Then I started hearing people, but people still cheer even if you miss a couple seconds. They will still cheer for
Yep.
you. So I had to look at the clock to know what time it was, and then I said, "Oh, I have 7 minutes left." Yeah, yeah. So I had just, it's just like you're so in your own head. You're so in the moment, so in your own head. You don't see or hear anything. That's what I felt.
And like you just said, right? So when you are in this zone and you are not even hearing anybody cheering in for you, and that was a big line that people were cheering for you, and you were so uncertain if you made it or not. And when you tossed that rock, and at the time you said you were still unsure of if you made it or not, but when you glanced at that clock and you saw that you had 7 minutes left, you were like, "Thank God." And how did that feel when you finally realized that you
Oh, yeah. So
were
I was like, yes, I did it. Yes, I did it. That's the feeling. And then I had to close my eyes for a second and just process that. And then I open my eyes again and I see all these photographers in front of me. Like you see them lined up for the first finisher, right? And someone is winning a
yeah.
race. And I thought I was so silly. I was like, oh my gosh, why are all these photographers and videographers there? And I thought it was so silly. I felt myself silly because I was definitely not a winner. And I think I didn't realize yet that I'm official finisher. But yeah, apparently they all knew nobody else was going to make it after me. So that I was a little embarrassed, honestly. It was like, why are all these people here for me? I'm the last finisher. It's something you actually never want to be, right? I always say that in races when we do races with friends. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna push it today. As long as I'm not the last one, I'm fine. There I was, the last one.
It's still a huge achievement, right? You said so many people applied for the race and so many people didn't make it, but you were there, the final finisher, and you finished, and now that's with you forever and ever. You are one of the hard rock, and lot of people can say that.
No, and I heard the number on that. So this year was the 30th year of Hardrock. And last year when Hardrock finished, I believe the number was 1,011 finishers, individuals, because some people have finished it multiple times, of course, but just like 1,011 individuals that have finished Hardrock in the 30 years. So this year is more, of course. So I don't know the number for this year, but I know from last year. So it's definitely not a lot, right? And if you think about
Yeah,
30 years. So yeah, I'm one of those. But I don't know the official number for this year. I'm going to have to ask the race director. But yeah, last year for 24, that was the number 1,011, I believe. Yeah. So
wow.
let's say, because there's a lot of people that have done it before also that run that race, because once you've done it, it's a little easier to get in. And there's people that are like 20-time finisher, or because back in the day it was easy to get in. It's just right now that it gets really hard because more and more people apply for it. So yeah, I'm one of them. So I'm definitely very proud of it.
Yes, you should be. It's an incredible thing to do. Finishing any 100 miler is an incredible achievement, but getting into hard rock that you've been waiting for a decade and finishing it, it's like kudos to you that you were able to do it, train for it.
Yeah.
And go, going back to that middle part, when you initially thought, oh God, my knees are hurting and I don't know if I can make it. And what did you do in that moment to pull yourself together and push through that pain?
Yeah, it was halfway the race. One of my knees started hurting really bad inside, and it was really hard to get up the steep downs and the steep ups. And Hard Rock is just these big step up and downs. We were making our way into Uray, and that last section into Uray is so steep. And I told my pacer at that time, which was a friend of a friend, and I didn't really know her. We just met up at the aid station. She didn't really know me, but it was really nice to have her as company. And for her, it was of course hard to say anything to me about that. You shouldn't or you should, but I told her I'm going to stop or I'm going to drop in Uray because I know what's coming. I still have 50 miles of, I know what's coming. I can't do that with Disney. And she was really nice, and she said, let's get to the aid station and let's talk to the medic and then we'll see. I said, yeah, okay, that's a good plan. And then I told her to text my friends. My friends were waiting for me in Uray, my friends who were crewing and pacing me for the rest of the race. And so maybe you should text them already and let them know I'm going to drop because I can't do this with this knee. And it was swollen. So she did that. And of course, my friends get that message and they're like, oh no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to allow her. So they were preparing for me to come in there as one bundle of misery. So yeah, I came in Uray and I see them and I told them, let's say, I'm gonna drop, and so of course I start crying, and I always have a little pity party during 100 miler, and they say, no, I say I want to see the medic. Say, no, you don't need the medic. Just sit down here, sit down. And I say, yeah, I want to see the medic. So well, and so we saw the medic, looked at my knee. They couldn't really determine if there was a reason to drop. So she put a bandage around it, and she said this should help a little bit. Meantime, my friends were feeding me, giving me food. They gave me ibuprofen, 200s, which is very light. And that works for me because I never take these kind of things. They know I'm not really pro for it. I never carry it on me either. And I'm afraid to use it because it's dangerous for your kidneys in 100 milers. But so they did that with they, and then I let them go. My mindset was just I let them take over my mind and my body. Basically, I was like, okay, and I started feeling better just having my knee like bandaged and then having food in my body, and they were all like, okay, they were optimistic and you'll be fine. And I got my other pacer, which was the husband of my best friend. And yeah, we just started walking out. And at the moment I got up from my chair and we started walking, I never looked back. I just, okay, I can do this. And I felt better. I felt so much better. And we actually had a really nice time after that. Yeah. And I never looked back. I never thought again, I'm going to drop. Never, never. Yeah. So I just turned around my mindset, and I just didn't think about my knee. It did hurt a couple times, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, it's hurting. But I just tried to ignore it and just kept going.
Yeah, I talked to so many entrepreneurs and Jesse and all these people always say that if you're having problems, always eat because that seems to fix most of the issues that we have. So
It
looks like
is.
it worked for you too.
It seems to fix it. Just eat food. And that's what my friend said. Here, eat that. Eat. It is literally,
That is amazing.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
funny.
it is. Yeah, it's we don't realize that what is wrong or what could have. I'm glad that you were able to finish it, and then looks like that band-aid worked and would work too probably because and maybe sometimes you just needed a rest
Yeah, and
and maybe that.
my knee definitely had some problems. It's I'm still having it looked at. There's definitely something. My knee was swollen the week 2 weeks after. It was really a big swollen knee, and then I had it looked at, and we haven't 100% determined what the issue was, but it got resolved. But we're keeping an eye on it. So definitely something was not right, but it
Yeah.
seems so far I can manage it without big interventions. Yeah.
Does this give you this new confidence that you were able to push through this pain that you thought that, oh God, I cannot do it, and you had this swollen knee, and but you finished it. You finished that another 50 miler you thought that was not possible for you at that moment. Is this like a new belief that you have Is this a confidence booster for that? Now you can do almost anything.
Yes, maybe. For me, it's when I feel something like with the knee, I'm scared that I would do big damage. That's non-reversible. So that was my thought. I'm gonna keep going. I'm doing a lot of damage to my body, which I don't think I did. It probably didn't. I don't think it got worse than it was already halfway. Yeah, so maybe I have more confidence. Yeah, just keep pushing through. As long as your bones not broken, your limbs don't fall off, I'm probably fine. Yeah.
When you look at ultra running, right, it's a lot of running, and if it's for the longer distances, it's a lot of patience too. You, of course, you need the endurance and the patience. And do you think that being a mom and a grandmom, because that needs patience and endurance too, because you have to keep up with the kids, so that has helped you in some sort of ways to have this mindset to
Probably.
be an ultra runner?
Yeah, I think so, probably, especially being a mom. And I have five children, and they're all close to each other. So I had them in 7.5 years. And that's a lot of work. And it's pushing through a lot of discomfort just to keep your household running smoothly. Not talking about sleepless nights, right? When not one gets sick, but then all three of them or all four are like throwing up. Usually that's what happened when they get like something. I think so, definitely. Yeah, I don't think I could do that over again. I'm thinking a lot sometimes, like, how did I do that? When I have the grandkids over right now, like sometimes, like when there's two toddlers in the house, I'm like completely run over by them. It's like, how did I do when my kids were little? Yeah, and then a lot of times I even had my sister's kids because she had three, and they're like all their ages are intertwined. So a lot of times we just had eight kids in the kitchen on the table, and or mine were at her house, or yeah. So it was always a whole lot of kids.
Lot of work.
Yeah,
Kids with a lot of work.
yeah, I know. It was just, yeah, you just, I don't know. I can't remember how I did it, but a lot of organized activities. I don't know, just we were very strict with schedules in the house. That was the only way to make it work. In the morning, these set routines, these strict routines, that's what pulled us through. Even nighttime, yeah, we had routine. Back in the day, we had these telephones that were still plugged in the wall. I would pull them out so that no phone call would come in while the kids had dinner, and then bath time and then bedtime, and so that there was no interruption at all, because the slightest interruption threw everything off. So
Definitely. If you have five, then it's, yeah, that's like a trouble. If you just like, hold on, it's time to bath, and you have to pick up the phone, then that's more work.
yeah, it was just would throw the whole routine off. They would start again, or now it was like a strict routine, and that was the only thing that worked. And yeah, and that's what you need in training too, right? You need a routine. You need that every day, same. Yeah, you need that routine. Yeah.
Yep. Discipline will get you. How does your kids, when they look at you and you are here at 61 going and crossing these ultra marathons, are they into running? Are they inspired by looking at what you're doing currently?
Yeah, they're very proud, definitely. They're proud of their mom. They're not really runners, but I think they're inspired. I see one of them she posts stuff on Strava. She's running really fast, actually. It's not her main sport, but she does it. And then one of my sons, he signed up for an half Ironman. He did one before. But yeah, so there's definitely some inspiration that trickles through. Yeah, but they've been always active, but more in swimming, and they were all water polo players. And then, of course, as I start working, that kind of fades away a little bit. I think that's normal. But now that they're settled in their adulthood, I see they're definitely all coming back a little bit to sports. Yeah, and then finding a different sport.
When you look at these ultras, right? So when we look at your journey, then there is so many lessons or so many inspirations. So for you, what do you want to pass to your family or the next generations of ultra runners that's coming through?
But I want to give the pass through to them. I would say, and actually that's for everybody, just keep challenging yourself. I think what it's something we need is in this society right now, because our lives have gotten so comfortable. If we want to, we don't really need to move anymore. We have a car, we can just order food, we can make life very comfortable without moving. And it's the worst we can do for ourselves. So keep moving, keep challenging that body, because that's what we're built for. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I did an episode with Peter Mortimer, and those are the exact word he said, that we as a society has become soft and comfortable because there is Uber, there is Netflix, there is DoorDash, or there is Amazon. Everything gets to a doorstep, and I was the same when I was living in US. I lived all over, and I never walked anywhere, even if it is a 5 minute distances. I used car, sometimes like Amazon to get things. Didn't really walk. And I moved to Berlin 2 years ago, and I have never missed the car. And there is so much walking here, and I see so different in society that when I was in US, I would even probably not see the neighbors that was living next to me or across the house or whatever. And here I can see so many people walking, commuting. Everybody's taking the train. Everybody's walking on the trail, hiking. I see all sort of people from young to old people. They're walking and doing things, and that has been the most cultural shock or the reset or the differences that I found when I lived in US and when I'm living here in Berlin is here they're more health oriented. I'm not saying that US people are, they are not, but it is, that's the most different things I found was like the major change in how we live our lifestyle. Basically, it's totally opposite.
Yeah, correct. Definitely. I Even though I feel like in Europe has changed a lot too, though. If I compare with 20 years ago when I left Europe, when I go back, I see things have changed. Definitely the worst way also. But we need to, our life is too comfortable and there's no more adventure. So we have to find the adventure and the uncomfortable in our sports or in things we do outside work and life, regular life.
Yes, definitely. And for you, right, you have been running for so long and you do these big endurance races, running 100 miles. That takes a lot of time and effort. And sometimes there is DNFs, which I don't look at failure because it is something that we need to improve on. I look at it that way. But how would you define success in ultra running?
How would I define what? Can you repeat that?
It- How to define a success?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because yeah, it's for me like for some finishing is a success, right? Or just even trying. For me, trying is success because I am also new to ultra running. I have always been a marathoner, and I always did run on the road. And I finished my first ultra marathon last month, and it was the hardest thing physically I've done.
Yeah.
It's it. I also, like you said, the comfortable thing, right? I was also pretty comfortable in my bubble where I didn't have to do more. But once I started doing this podcast, and like you did this 100 miler hard rock, and it inspires me. And I'm asking myself now, like when I'm talking to you, like you are doing this incredible thing, and what can I do more? And all these conversations has inspired me to do more. Always ask what is next for me. And since I started doing this podcast, I'm trying so many things. I'm like, what is next? What is next? So I did my ultra marathon. I'm doing back at ultra next month, and it just these conversations are so contagious because you are doing the hard things, and I'm like here, and I'm like, okay, what can I do now? I need to do something.
Yeah, and you know what? And it doesn't need to be running, I think. There's other things we can challenge ourselves in. Even I really was hoping to be able to run a High Rocks event end of the year. High Rocks has been very in Europe and it flew over to the US. And so it's, you know what that is, right? Do you know what it is in High Rocks
Yeah,
competition?
yeah,
Okay.
it's
So last week,
hard thing.
yeah, and I figured it's really complementary to training for an ultra, and I figured it's in the off season. There's one here in Anaheim, uh, which is in November. I was like, oh, I'm going to sign up for it. I actually, one of my daughters was going to do it with me. And so we're ready on the computer to sign up when it opened, and it sold out in seconds. So we couldn't even get into it. So I was a little disappointed because that's not 100% running. It's still running. You have these stations you have to do, like ball walls or the erg or rowing or lunges. And then in between, you do a 1 kilometer run around the track. So you have 8 stations, 8 times that 1 kilometer run. And it's a lot of fun, I think. And so I was looking forward to it, but we didn't even get in. So maybe next year. So yeah, I feel like it doesn't even need to be ultra running all the time. It can be something else. If I would like the water, I would definitely also do something with swimming, but I don't like water. But even skiing, I like to ski in the winter, and I've never done a ski race. And some one of the things I sometimes think maybe I should do a ski race one day, but I'm probably too old for that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be running necessarily all the time. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, definitely.
Yeah, Hydrox is incredible. I think I'm talking to Godfrey sisters. I think they call themselves, and they are the first, I think, Hydrox athlete that I'm talking to. And it's an interesting concept. I talked with Christine and Kasha. I think they are doing an event end of this year, competing in the Hydrox, and that is fascinating because, like you said, it's so much popular in Europe, and I see everybody doing it, and it's blowing up in US right now. And you said it's a fun event, but I don't know about fun, but that looks challenging because you gotta run and then you gotta do CrossFit, you gotta do set pull, and I try to do set pull when I'm trying to do my leg workout, and it is so hard, and I cannot imagine running 1 kilometer or like lap 8 when you do all of that and doing it. It sounds tough.
Yeah, it's. I think it's hard, but it's the stations you have to do, the exercises. It's actually good training. We should be doing for training for ultra races because it really makes you a strong runner, and that's why I think it's great complementary to the ultra running, and that's why I was excited for it. It was like, oh, it's the winter, and then before I'm signed up for another big 100 miler. We do just for fun. Because yeah, in the weight training, I'm doing weight training during the whole year round, and there's a lot of similar stuff we do.
Yes,
So it's,
definitely
I
it
think,
helps.
yeah, it's. I think it's complementary. But yeah, not this year apparently because it's so popular here right now. You don't even get in. I think you need like pre-registration through a friend and a friend to be able to get a
Yeah.
spot. I don't know how to. It's gotten just so popular so fast.
Yeah, it is amazing that I never thought it would go up fast, like you said, so early. That is new news.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was surprised myself because we've been looking at this for so long. I was like, oh, that's what we do. And yeah, no, was no way we got in. Right.
And now looking at you, right, like when people talk about this endurance and when they say or compare it with age, right? So what would you say, what is the biggest misconception people had about age and endurance?
Misconception, I don't know. I think as we age, our endurance gets better because automatically we get a little slower. I think our mindset shifts a little bit because we're older, we're wiser, more
True.
yeah, I think the older, the more endurance you get. Yeah. I feel like, because we're not so nervous about it anymore, and things don't have to go fast, fast, fast. We just go long and slow and long and keep moving.
Yes, definitely. Like you said, the wiser you get, then you are not in a hurry because you know what's coming and you are patient that, okay, I know what's coming, so let me take my time and let me do this right way.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Let's say, so you are doing this hard rock now and so many other 100 milers. And if you go back and remember the first time you did couch to 5K, would you believe that Anne, who did that couch to 5K, would believe that you would be a finisher of a hard rock run or any other 100 mile run that you would be doing right now? Would you have believed that? Let's see.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. I remember even when I already had progressed to marathon distance, that I was still saying, I will never ever do a 100-mile race. Never. Yeah, no, I would never, no, believe that if someone told me that. Absolutely not.
Let's say somebody's listening to us right now, so they are up until to this time, like moment in this podcast, and they are, let's say, in their 50s or 60s, and they are thinking about getting into ultras, but they are like, oh man, it's too late for me to get into ultras or get into endurance sports or even get and run into marathon. What would be that one advice that would give to those folks who are a little bit late into these endurance sports?
I don't think it's ever too late. Never. I think you can even start in your 60s if you just slowly build up and be consistent. It's never too late.
So there are few things left. There are these questions I usually ask to everybody. But before that, if you could go back to your younger self, what would you tell her about persistent and believing in possibility?
That anything is possible, always. Never say never. And if you never try, you will never know.
Yeah, definitely. That's basically for everybody too, right? If we
Correct.
don't try, then we never know. I never thought I could do marathon too. I used to be super big, like 220 pounds, and I never thought that I could finish marathon. And it was amazing, like what we can do if we put our mind into. I ask this question to everybody: why do you run?
Why do I run? I like the feeling when you get into the flow. It's like you're flying. And then
Yeah.
running, it's just so simple. You just need shoes, right? You need just some sporting clothes.
Technically,
It just technically you don't need a whole lot. You can run. You just can run. You don't really need a whole lot. Of course, we now these days that we do need a lot, especially when you go into an endurance. But it's so simple sport. Everybody can do it. You only need your 2 feet. The kids do it. Look at the little kids. I love watching little kids run, like toddlers. Like they have the perfect running form. Running is so simple. And when you really get in that flow state, it's a really fun feeling. It doesn't always happen, of course. A lot of time we feel like we're so creaky. But when you get in the flow, it's a really nice feeling. Yeah.
yes, it is like a meditation for me. It's when you're just looking at the trails and running, and it's just, oh God, this feels nice.
Yes, that's it. That's it too. Yeah, it's definitely can be, especially when you're on longer, easier runs. It's like meditation. Yeah, a lot goes through your head, and then afterwards you're like, you forgot about what you thought about. It's gone. I don't think I thought about something. It was just, yeah, you're in flow state.
So Next section is called a rapid fire. So I'll just ask you a bunch of random questions. It's one or the other, either way. So can you please just let me what you think, what comes to your head first?
Okay.
Trails or
Oh,
roads?
trails.
Favorite race fuel?
Race fuel, fruit.
Hardest climb you have ever done?
The hardest climb, oh, Grand Swamp on Hardrock course. Grand Swamp Pass.
One word that defines hard rock for you?
Tough.
Music, podcast, or silence while you are running?
Silence.
Who inspires you the most?
Can be anyone. It just changes all the time.
Morning runs or night runs?
Morning runs.
Finish line feeling in one word.
Finish line feeling, I don't know. Finish line feeling, gratitude. Gratitude.
And if you have this opportunity to run any race in the world at this moment, what would that be?
Right now, Western States. I still need to run that one.
Yeah, I'm keeping my finger crossed for you for that one. And this is the last question of the podcast. I would like you to please finish the sentence for me. Running has changed my life because
Running has changed my life because I feel younger.
beautiful. And thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate you taking your time and doing this podcast. It was so nice to know about your journey, and you've been kicking ass and inspiring all of us and getting to do this thing, which are harder and tougher.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a
Yes,
pleasure.
and yes, same here. And I'm looking forward to the high rocks. And I'll keep my finger crossed for the Western shit for you. Hopefully, you can get in this next year. Thank you so much and have a good rest of the day for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yep,
Bye.
thank you. Yeah, bye. Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of this podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.
I step on chasing.